like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. Seeing nobody else recording the meeting, if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Seeing no citizens to comment, we'll move right on to special recognitions. Dr. Hanfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. This special recognition is for our Unified Athletic Program once again, under the direction of Mrs. Allison DeLuca. We received notice last week that our schools have once again been named a Unified Champion School District. This will be the third year in a row that our Unified program has been recognized. And I wanted to just take a moment to publicly recognize this achievement and offer congratulations to Mrs. DeLuca, all of our coaches, players, and families for, again, another terrific accomplishment for the Auburn Public Schools and for our Unified program.
Excellent. We love that program. We love having them in here, and we love seeing them around town, and I look forward to a time when we can get back together with them and have them come in and present, and it's always heartwarming, and I'm so appreciative of the hard work that they do, and especially Mrs. DeLuca. Okay, and I don't think our student representatives are with us at the moment. There may have been a mix-up with the time, so I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of 9:30.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 9:30.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. And we now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So as we've been doing the last few weeks, we've had our school opening update. I'm pleased to report that we officially transitioned into our 2-1-2 hybrid model as scheduled on Monday, October 5th. Students are now attending school 2 days a week in person, remote on Wednesdays with their classmates and teachers, and they're at home checking in with their teachers a minimum of twice per period, in some cases more. And from discussions with administrators and teachers and visits to classrooms and feedback from the school community, this change has had a positive impact on student engagement and accountability. So we're pleased to see and hear that, especially in grades 6 through 12. We're continuing to explore ways to merge the cohorts as much as possible to maximize synchronous instruction. This is happening in a lot of places already, but we are currently working with our teachers right now to see how different teachers are doing it. We also had an opportunity to visit with a vendor for webcams for classrooms, so we're looking at that option as well. But it's something that we are going to continue to investigate and kind of refine as we move forward over the next month and a half. But so far, pleased with where we are a week and a half into the 2-1-2. So I just want to thank our administrators and our faculty and our staff and our families, again, for their work with that.
Yeah, I would like to just say that obviously I thank all of you, but yeah, for our teachers, just going that extra mile, and they always do, and because it's for the students and they always put the students first, we so appreciate that. And I can tell you it's not the same everywhere. I'm sure, Dr. Hanfield, I'm sure you have conversations with other superintendents and principals, and certainly I live it every day, but I also have conversations about other districts. It's just not going as smoothly, and I understand that there are some bumps, and some of our teachers are going to struggle a bit getting this off the ground, but we're just we're so far ahead of the curve, and I think our hearts are in the right place with this, and that's from the top all the way down. So I totally appreciate it, everything that they've done.
Thank you. What do we have? Jasmine's here. We'll see if Aaron shows up in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Just moving on, COVID update. Again, as you know, we had a COVID positive student in Auburn High School on October 1st. The student continues to do extremely well, and at this time, more than likely is fully restored, I guess, if you will, from his COVID experience. We did not have any additional cases as a result of that situation. And I would like to just obviously take this opportunity to, again, thank Dr. Chamberlain and our nurses, the Auburn Board of Health, for their joint efforts on this matter. We were able to quickly take action once we were aware of the student, identify any potential close and non-close contacts, and personally reach out to them with a phone call, and then we were able to notify our community in the same day. So, I think Mrs. McCrillis said it in our last meeting. The plans that we have in place seemingly now, as this is our second situation, the plans that we have in place seemingly are doing what they're designed to do, and that's to catch this as soon as possible and then make people aware as soon as possible and get the care or anything else that's required in place immediately. So again, I said it I actually jinxed myself, I think, or jinxed us. The September 30th meeting, I stated that coming off the bus incident, we would have something happen again. I wasn't expecting it to be the very next day. So I'm not going to say anything now, in fear I may jeopardize a good thing. But again, just, a great job by Dr. Chamberlain, our nurses, Board of Health, for their joint efforts. And like I said, plans that we have in place seemingly right now are working. So pleased to report that to everyone.
Well, once again, not to beat a dead horse, but I also thank everyone responsible for getting that message out and handling the situation. And I think really what I'm impressed with is the lack of negative feedback or excitement over the announcement because of the transparency and because all of you were able to show that you had a pretty good handle on the situation. And again, it's not the same everywhere. So to that feeling that we have the confidence of the residents, of the parents, makes me feel pretty good, and I'm impressed with the way all of you handled this. Dorothy?
Through the chair, I was actually just going to ask how long do we need to wait before the child comes back into school, or what criteria needs to be met? So just so if other families go through this,
Sure.
What would they expect for
Sure.
getting their child back in building?
Yeah, I'll let you take that.
So that depends on every situation, and everyone is going to be different, because it depends on whether a child is symptomatic or asymptomatic. Symptomatic, it's 10 days, asymptomatic could be 14 days, or if they are asymptomatic then develop symptoms, that can push that out. But the Board of Health really takes charge of setting the dates of return, along with our nurses assisting with follow-up to make sure that symptoms are diminishing and that we're still on track for whatever the date that's been set. So every case is different. There's no hard and fast. As soon as 14 days hits, it depends on a lot of factors. But the Board of Health determines that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, did you want to entertain Jasmine at this point, or you want to wait for Aaron, or?
We could give, maybe Jasmine may have some things to do, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we'll
if Aaron
welcome
pops
her.
in, we can just pause for Aaron.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good evening, Jasmine.
Oh, she's okay.
Good evening, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome. Since Aaron's not here yet, I think we'll have you deliver your report, and that way, we can cut you loose to get back to doing your homework or whatever exciting things you have going on. So,
Okay.
the floor is all yours. You're welcome.
As students, I think that they're starting to settle in more. I think the only thing that has been a little confusing for a lot of students is a lot of schedule changes. And I don't mean like personal changes, I mean just more of when are we having a half day on Zoom, and when are we having a full day, and when do we check in, and what times they are. But now that I think it's going to be more permanent, as for check-ins at the beginning and end of class, and then having half days on Wednesdays, and then if you're not fully remote, you're going in on your cohort days. I think that that struggle is going to be eliminated once we start getting rolling with this current schedule. So I really think that's it, but I think people are going to start to settle in more now that it's more permanent. But other than that, I think everyone is pretty satisfied with how school life is running now.
Excellent. And is that all you have for us this evening?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, that was enough. We appreciate that report, and I hope school is going well for you.
Thank you, it is.
And it's great to get that feedback so we know how the students are feeling. And I'm sure Aaron will add a little bit more to the report.
Yes, I just spoke to him not 20 minutes ago, and he had said that he would be there soon, so he might just be having trouble like finding the link or something like that, or got the times mixed up, but I know he was planning on being here, so
Okay.
I'm sure he'll check in soon.
Great. Any questions or comments for Jasmine? No?
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for a nice report, and we'll let you get back to doing all that homework.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Have a good evening.
You as well. See you
Good
next
night,
time.
Jasmine.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on, just as a point of information, at our last meeting, we talked about adjusting the satellite and Galaxy start dates. And we are, in fact, ready to go for October the 19th to start satellite and Galaxy. We have also been able to work things out to where we're able to keep our students in their home schools so that they're not having to travel on buses. At the outset of this, remember we had talked about the possibility of maybe putting them at the middle school or the high school. But after looking at some logistical pieces and talking it over and adjusting some plans, we're able to keep that kind of that sense of normalcy that the kids have been used to, as we have a lot of kids that are obviously a repeat customer. So Dr. Chamberlain is kind of the point on that. So I don't know, did you have anything you wanted to add, or?
I think right now we have a pretty low enrollment, which honestly is a good way to start for us. So it's going to be a very manageable group of students, and I think the principals are a little relieved on that just to get the ball rolling. And then what do we hope? We hope that we can open it up to more, right, as things go well, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, everybody's been great. A lot of the staff couldn't wait to come back. Many of the staff already work for us, but they were happy to have the after-school time, so it's gone well.
Excellent.
Great, thank you. Just moving on to the fall athletics update. So fall athletics began successfully on October the 5th. Again, this includes boys and girls soccer, cross country, girls field hockey, football and cheer, as I said at our last meeting. Will take place during that fall 2 season, which will be the end of February and into, I think, the first or second week of April. During my late afternoon walks around, I did visit AHS to observe some practices and was happy to see teams operating in accordance with MIAA rules. Masks were on at all times unless they were having mask breaks. Coaches were adhering to the other rules in particular. There are sport-specific rules. So I just paused for a few minutes to kind of casually just observe. And like I said, was very pleased to see how it was all operating. So I know that we're all happy to see, the resumption of all activities in school, but it was nice to be there because it's another step in kind of regaining that feeling of normalcy that's been, seemingly missing. We're used to our fields and our schools being vibrant and alive, into the early, well, I wouldn't say early hours, but into the almost late hours of the evenings with different activities. So it was nice to see that at the high school. Teams will start competing this coming Monday, and we'll see how it goes. So,
Great.
So far, so good on that front. Oh, and excuse me, I neglected golf, boys golf also. I apologize. They're up at the golf course. I pass them every day on my way home. Boys golf, they're also doing well as well.
All right.
So thank you. October 1st enrollment, this is something that you see every year. You'll note that if you looked at the chart that we had provided in the packet, we're down 118 students across the district compared to last year. This isn't, it's not unique to just Auburn. Many school districts are experiencing the same decrease in students as a result of COVID. If you look at our numbers in particular, it's preschool and Swiss where we have the most amount of students, missing from last year. Again, not to be, unexpected. What effect this will have on Chapter 70 remains to be seen. It may have some effect, but the state is in full recognition of the fact that, school districts are grappling with this across the Commonwealth. And so we will see what, if any, hit we will take as a result of that, because as people know, our enrolled students on October 1, that's what we use to create our foundation budget from the state.
Question, Casey.
Sure.
Do you think that that drop is due to homeschooling?
Yeah, so
Or
through the
has it gone
chair.
elsewhere?
Yeah, so through the chair, so preschool, preschool is where we saw a lot. I mean, we're almost down 50% in terms of our preschool enrollment, so that's a lot. And yeah, I mean, families are just choosing to homeschool. They're choosing to do other alternatives, as a result of that. Swanson Road is the other big school there, and that's just, families are just making those decisions to do other things. So, yeah.
Now, am I correct in thinking that when they opt to homeschool, they're supposed to file a plan with the district?
Yes. So we have, right. So school committee policy is basically the school committee policy on homeschooling outlines essentially what the state's policy is, which is, people have the right to homeschool their children, but they have to supply us with an educational plan, and then it usually is reviewed by Dr. Chamberlain and myself for approval. And then they have to show us that their child is making satisfactory progress through a variety of metrics. Many families will send us like an Iowa, achievement test, or a MAT, Metropolitan Achievement Test, or something like that. In addition to coursework that they would have finished. So, yeah.
Do you know offhand if people have been complying with that, or they don't even know about it, or?
So, and I'm just going to talk from my experience as a high school principal. Typically, we get reports quarterly from the families, and it usually is an update on the academic progress. We review those, and in all of my experiences with homeschooling, I've never come across a circumstance where I was concerned, or I found the parents to be very diligent when we talk with them about what the expectations are. They're very, very much adhering to those. So, yeah. So.
Well, thank you.
Because the other part of it too is that these kids that have elected to, some of them who've elected to not participate, this year in the public school setting, those children plan on returning, and so we need them to be, at the appropriate place when they return.
Absolutely.
And so it's even more imperative, as Dr. Chamberlain and I have been speaking to families, that they understand, and that when those plans come into us, they have to be at a place where their child can assimilate back in with little to no, speed bumps as a result of them being, out.
I was afraid, like some people would say, well, I'm not going to send my kid to school this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
With very little thought to it.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, we had some of those. I will say we had some of those, but I think once we explained the process to some families elected to stay with us. And then, but other families, after we discussed, in more depth and detail for them and answered questions, they still elected for a variety of reasons, health concerns or whatever, to keep their children home. So, again, it's not unique to us. We're seeing it across the state. For us, like I said, if it probably wouldn't be as dramatic if we didn't have a full preschool going, because like I said, we lost 50% of our preschool kids about. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
Through the chair, I actually just have one question specific to Swiss. So I know I think the bubble was in 5th grade, or they would have been in 5th grade by now. Was this actually a bit of a positive change for us? I just can't, I think we were up to 9 5th grade classes,
Yeah,
and I think we had one other bubble, but
Yeah, it was big.
did it happen to be in that class?
Yeah,
Happen to be in that grade?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great question, and yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, it is kind of a double-edged sword there, in the sense that it does give us some assistance, in that regard. So yes, that's a good observation. But with respect to the total number of kids that are out, they're, like I said, they're our second building with the most kids out. They also have the most remote kids in the district as well. So we're working through that, just looking to balance, classes and how we can make sure that, there's equity there for our kids. So.
Through the chair, what are the teachers' numbers at Swiss? Is it 8, 9, and 9, or?
The number of teachers in each grade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
8, 9, and 9.
Yeah, that
Okay.
didn't change. Yeah, 8, 9, and 9.
Cool. And then I think, I guess the lowers haven't changed too much, so.
Okay. Moving on.
Sure. No Aaron yet, okay. So we also we received a donation from Gentex Optics Incorporated, which we are very thankful for. We recently received a generous donation of miscellaneous PPE supplies through Mr. Ed Chamberlain. That sounds familiar, it should. That's Dr. Chamberlain's husband. A wonderful gentleman helping us out behind the scenes. And like I said, they're miscellaneous, so they'll help fill our stockpiles and be distributed out through our schools. So it's my recommendation that you would accept that with gratitude and thank Gentex Optics for it.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to accept with gratitude the donation of PPE supplies from Gentex Optics.
Second?
Second, any discussion?
It's great.
Please thank him for us.
Karen, thank you.
Thank them. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
And then along those same lines, we also received a donation from Piercing Emporium from Mr. Mark Williams, if that sounds familiar, it should. That is the husband of AHS Secretary Mandy Williams. Mark owns Piercing Emporium and Tattoo in Worcester, and like I said, he donated 9 cases of PPE gowns. So it'd also be my recommendation that we accept that with gratitude as well, and many thanks to Mark.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to accept with gratitude the donation of 9 cases of gowns from the Piercing Emporium and Tattoo in Worcester.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just
Great.
wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. It is a vote. And we now move on to unfinished business.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chair. As we discussed at our previous meeting, we have town meetings scheduled for October the 27th at AHS, where there's a number of warrant articles that are being taken up. One of those I mentioned to you was the revised FY21 budget number of $27,214,157. As we talked 2 weeks ago, that represents a decrease of $461,898 from the appropriated town meeting number in June. But however, before we put that forward, we just want to take a vote in acceptance of that.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised FY21 school district budget to $27,214,157.
With a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
Thank you. Associated with that item, we have a meeting scheduled for October the 28th. Am I correct in my understanding that typically the committee would have a brief meeting prior to town meeting?
Yeah.
That would take the place of the 28th meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So then just so that everybody's clear, so we won't meet the 28th. We'll have a meeting prior to town hall. We'll have a meeting prior to town meeting on October the 27th.
Yes.
Does that sound about right? That sounds right?
It's usually a very brief one.
Okay. All right, excellent. I just wanted to point that out.
Now, question, is the town meeting going to be in the auditorium like it usually is, or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Town Manager Jacobson and myself and Joe Fahey and DPW folks, and we've been working through this, and so we've got a pretty good plan. We are going to be in pods throughout the high school, socially distanced, and then there will be people also outside in their vehicles, because some members of town meeting won't, similar to the June meeting, they won't want to come into the building. There are no presentations being given that evening for PowerPoint purposes. All of that will be put online for people to review in advance, I think also similar to what happened in June. And so it'll be an audio town meeting, and then people will cast their votes in a remote fashion throughout the building.
Excellent. Chris?
We're going to be broadcasting the audio for the meeting through the public address system. So you'll be able to hear it anywhere in the building
Oh, okay, great.
and outside.
All right,
No.
excellent.
I think
Thank
we
you.
have the other student is here. Aaron's here.
Aaron's here?
I believe
Okay.
so. Someone's trying to come in.
Somebody coaches, NISIP coaches.
No, that's not the one. You don't want to do that. No.
Oh,
No,
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 no.
Okay.
no, don't do that. We don't know who that is. Just want to be safe.
Yeah, yeah.
They might not be dressed.
We don't need any extra entertainment
Yeah,
tonight.
no.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Increase our
yeah.
viewership.
Just
Yeah.
having Mr. Hugo up there to the mic was enough for us for one
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah, but thank you, Chris. Yeah, so it's going to be, yeah, so the audio will be broadcast over the PA system in the high school, and then obviously we're on the radio as well. Yeah, as they did in June. So hopefully it'll be quick work. It'll just be a perfunctory exercise on behalf of town meeting. They also, selectmen also lowered the quorum, I think, to 40.
wow.
So they would get enough votes there, so they weren't, shaking the trees looking for a quorum. So it should go fairly smoothly.
So through the chair, I just have to ask about cleaning. I know we usually have our deep cleaning on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
Are they gonna flip that to do that Tuesday before? Okay, thank you.
Yep. There was a lot of kind of logistical things we had to kind of figure out with that, and that's one of them. So we'll be having, the deep cleanings happening on Tuesday, and then there'll also be, in the designated spaces, they'll also be deep cleaned again on Wednesday afternoon into the evening, so we'll get 2 before folks go into those areas. So they will be cleaned right before people show up and arrive for town meeting.
So we're gonna go to the guidance office for 6:30 like we usually do? Or
If-
sooner, or?
Yeah, I mean, we can, or if that's, I think what we'll have to do, maybe what we'll have to do is we'll have to work it out with town administration, because I think all the boards will end up having an area. So once we get I'm not sure we have the floor plan laid out yet, but we'll be somewhere.
Well, you'll send us a message.
Yes.
You might be sitting inside Rocket One, our mobile unit. We can get out of there in a hurry if people aren't happy with the budget.
Probably much more comfortable.
If they don't like that number, we just take off.
Joy will be asleep in the back.
Cecilia's got a question. Or a comment or
Cecilia?
something.
Just wanted to speak to, I was at the finance.
Just wanna hit the mic.
Hey, sorry about that. I was at the Finance Committee at the last meeting, which I wasn't here for, and also attended the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, and they both committees voted to support our articles for the town meeting, so that we're good with that. And I just wanted to acknowledge it that Town Manager Jacobson last night expressed after the presentation that she was very thankful for the cooperation of the school department, Dr. Hanfield, Dr. Chamberlain, and the school committee members for your cooperation working together to try to help in this difficult time with trying to reduce the budget and all the efforts that you've made. So she did acknowledge that publicly, and she was very thankful for the working relationship that she and CFO Kazanovitz have with the school department. So I just wanted to let you know that. Okay?
That's great.
Thank you.
That's great
That's nice.
news. No, and the feelings are mutual for sure. That's always been one of our goals, I know, as a committee, and some of us have been on here for a while, and Meg certainly long enough to know her way around, but one of our goals is always to work closely with other town departments and town administration, and there's only one pie. We only get so many pieces of that, and some years we'll need a little more, and some other departments may need it. And certainly in these times, we want to be able to work as closely as we can with town management and all departments, so that everyone gets their fair shake. So, but
Yeah,
that's
and-
nice of Julie to say that.
It was very nice and very much appreciated, and I would echo the same sentiments back to the town as well. It's been a pleasure to work with them thus far, and one of the things that doesn't necessarily get mentioned, so we're reducing the budget, say by $460 some odd thousand, $461,898. But what people may not realize is that there is a number of federal grants that have come in that have been designed to support schools. There have been also a number of COVID-related grants that have come in on the municipal side that both Julie and Ed have been terrific in terms of allowing the schools to access to help support some of our needs this year. So, although it looks like, we're short $462,000, that's not really it doesn't tell the whole story behind the scenes. There's a lot of moving pieces financially, so that's why, you know, we're able to do what we're doing with this revised number due to a lot of people's really efforts. So really much appreciate that, and it's going to be, you know, imperative moving forward, you know, that we have the same relationship, because 22 is going to be tough. You know, as I've said, you know, a number of times, 22 will be tough, but we'll work together to get it done.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to new business, I had a note here that actually this would go under unfinished business. So you remember USDA has funding free meals for everyone through the 31st of December, and I told you that at the time I wasn't sure whether or not that would be extended. Well, and it always happens this way, we literally sent out this packet to you, and we got notification from the government that they are going to be funding, the USDA will be funding meals through the entire school year.
Wow.
So it's terrific. It's terrific news for our families. It's terrific news for our students. That will all be grant funded. So Janice was thrilled. She, you know, sent it to us as soon as she received word, and she's already working, as she said this morning in our cabinet meeting, on marketing materials and letting people know, you know, that this is available through the end of the school year. So we're very thankful to the USDA for that. And our families will benefit. So I just wanted to close the loop on that while I saw my note here.
That's huge, because food banks are having a really hard time keeping stock. So I
Yeah.
think that even just some of our local families in town have been, you know, we're doing what we can in family services to keep it stocked, but, you know, there's just a lot more people that need it.
Yeah.
And so I think that will really go a long way.
And through the chair too, you know, we're seeing those numbers, huh? We're seeing those numbers increase. You know, where we don't have the full stimulus out of Washington yet. You know, salary or financial, you know, subsidization, you know, subsidization is not coming from Washington right now. People are losing their jobs, and so we're seeing that number steadily climb. I mean, what are we? She said we're almost 600, pushing 700. So, and as we get into, you know, the holidays, it very well could get higher. So, this funding will allow us to, as you said, you know, assist, you know, AYFS and some of the local food banks and pantries that really are just stretched to their, you know, to their limits right now. So we're happy that we can do that and thankful.
Casey, could I ask a question on that? Does that mean that no one's paying for their lunches in the whole district?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, USDA is subsidizing all of it.
That's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's one of these things where, you know, so the USDA obviously is a federal, and this is a national program. And, you know, obviously as we look at what's going on across the country right now, you know, there are states that are in really dire straits as it relates to many things relative to schooling and COVID. But, you know, making sure families and students are eating is really imperative right now. So, yeah, so everyone's been, you know, we're all benefiting from that, so we're very fortunate.
Are they still doing the breakfast card or any of that they used to do, or?
So have we started breakfast yet?
They do breakfast at the pickup time, so she
That's right.
still does meals to go on Wednesdays, and that's breakfast and lunch. But then kids on the days they're in can also get lunch. So it's a little bit of, she's got two programs going, in school and out of school kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and through the chair, I was thinking, you know, in December, well, maybe November, maybe around Thanksgiving, we'll have to look at the meeting schedule, but I thought it would be nice if we asked Janice and you know, either some or all of the cafeteria staff in the district to just show, you know, come to a meeting and be recognized. I mean, they are busting, they're busting, you know, to get these things out. I mean, they're delivering, you know, we're saying 700 families, but then you times that by the number of meals, and I think Janice said it's close to 6,000 that they're putting out every week.
Wow.
It's a lot of meals. So they're moving, they're hustling.
Own way of delivering in schools, right? So that all changed for them too. How kids do that, so.
Yeah, and they're getting it done. So
I think that would be great.
yeah, I just think, I mean, I've obviously expressed my thanks, you know, on behalf of the committee and already, but I just thought it would be nice if, you know, a few people came and, you know, maybe just could share a little bit more in depth about what they're doing on the daily, you know, because certainly they're living it. You know, we just see it from the outside. So, but yeah, so that's really good news.
Through the
Okay,
chair, do
before-
they actually have enough staff?
So it's funny about the staff. We asked. We were talking about that this morning too, and Janice is indicating yes that
Okay.
they have enough staff to get it done.
Great.
So, because that was something we were concerned about. So, yeah, at our cabinet meeting this morning, that was another topic, was do you need more bodies? And she said right now, she was good with, with what she had. So, we'll just, we'll continue to keep an eye on that.
Great.
And go
If I could interrupt for a minute, Dottie, when you're talking more to Casey with the mask on, we can't hear you down here.
Oh, okay. I'll speak up.
Okay. And I can't even read lips because.
So before we move on to new business, I just want to go back to the FY '21 revised and just take that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It is a vote. And now, if there's nothing else, we can move on to new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. October 15th, every year, that's when we discuss the superintendent's goals. I am going to, this right here asks for action. I'm going to ask that this just be information as a draft right now, because I may change my second one the more I was looking at it. So I don't want to vote something in and then have to go back and re-vote it. I'm just not sure that I want to go with the second one. I might want to streamline that down. But just real quickly on the draft piece, my professional practice goal is my participation in the new superintendent induction program. And you've met John, my coach, John Brackett. And so I'm participating in a series of workshops and coaching sessions with him. And as a part of that, I will be creating an entry plan that will probably be coming somewhere in December. And then some sort of a targeted approach to to student learning that we'll talk about more in depth down the road. My student learning goal that I have here, again, it's in draft form, is obviously one of our concerns, as we've talked about, is engagement of our students. And so you've heard us talk about learning walks as an administrative team in the past. That's what I have in there right now, is to be able to visit the virtual classroom with principals, and first of all look at the technical aspects of lessons and making sure we have those there, but then also making sure that we're getting our kids to be doing things at a high level. And so the idea here would be that I would be visiting these classrooms with principals and then just kind of sharing my feedback with them in the similar fashion that we do learning walks. We share our feedback, and then the principals use that as kind of a data point to overall kind of continue to refine their instruction. I like it. I'm just not sure I really like it, so we'll see. We'll see on the 27th. And then the district improvement goal. As we look at everything that we're dealing with right now as it relates to COVID, it really has changed the landscape of what we're doing here in the district. And I want to sit with Beth and the principals and the implementation team from the original strategic plan in 2018 and just go through and see if we need to kind of either alter some things, change a couple of things here and there to be more reflective of what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing moving forward. So I don't anticipate that one will change, but the second one I might want to just do something else with. So, but this is the tentative outline. I may come to you the 27th and say, yeah, we're good with those, and provided you're good with those.
Yep.
But I drafted this on October 7th last week, so I had too much time to think in between then and now. So I apologize for that, but I just want to make sure that that the student learning goal is just want to make sure it's appropriate for the times that we're in. I think I'm there, but I would just like another week or so to refine that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
No problem.
So there'll be no motion on that. So thank you.
Okay. We now move on to teaching and learning. Chamber?
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here tonight. So just, I know last time I was here, you'd asked for a bit of data around zip slip as well as attendance. Tonight, I'm not sharing attendance data with you. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has created a really complex process for tracking attendance data right now. So students who are remote need to be marked in a certain way as long as they're remote present or remote absent. In school is present or absent excused. But if I'm home because I just maybe sprained my ankle and can't walk, but I want to go to school, that's another kind of indicator. And what this system has done is it's thrown some of the Power School data into a bit of a tailspin for everybody. Karen Berkowitz had a meeting with the state about it yesterday, I think, and they're working through it, but it's very hard now to tease out the actual data. But what I can share with you is that on a day-to-day basis, principals and staff are watching for students who aren't showing up for class, who aren't coming into school, and they're following up with phone calls and reaching out and all of that. So we're paying a lot of attention to it, but I didn't want Karen to have to take all that time to almost tease through it manually at this point when they are working to fix that. So I'll have more of that on the next time with how our attendance is going. I will tell you that probably the biggest challenge is at the high school, which I don't think is surprising, where kids have a little bit more freedom. But Mr. DeLongchamp has been hard on that for actually a few weeks already, just to make sure that kids are showing up as they should. So, and I think with our outreach at the beginning and end of periods, I think that's going to help that somewhat as well. So more to come on attendance.
And through the chair, if I may ask, just to add in, one thing that I think I'm most curious about is how, I guess, in light of COVID, when we're trying to encourage people to stay home and do the right thing, or if we're sending people home because they need to get a test, I'm curious to see how that impacts overall attendance and also then, I guess, performance. I just, and I know this will take weeks to build up, obviously, and it totally makes sense why we don't have that today, just in straight attendance. But I just wanted to give a clear idea of the snapshot that I'm looking for, because, you know, if we tend to be sending a lot of kids home, which we should, but, you know, if the nurses feel we should and the Board of Health feels that we should, absolutely. It's more just trying to get an idea of the frequency with which we're encouraging people to stay home or encourage people to go home, and how does that correlate to, you know, increased symptoms or increased absenteeism just for something that they shouldn't be staying home for. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, but I will tell you that.
It might be hard to do, so.
Well, and I'm not sure that we have the capability to make all those correlations necessarily. I think we can look at some of the data, but, you know, students when they go home, if they stay home because they have a sore throat, we're trying to get them in the remote learning environment, right?
Okay.
So we're not just saying stay home and, you know, you have the day off kind of thing. And that's being communicated to families, that we still want them completing the assignments, checking in if they can. They all have devices. So some of that is just making sure the material is there in the remote environment as it would be in the classroom, and that's getting better. That's getting better all the time. So, you know, they're not getting a day out of school in some cases, right? If they're sick, for sure. But, you know, sometimes with a little sore throat, typically they might have come to school. Now we're saying don't come,
Right.
but join the remote group. So hopefully that's not going to contribute to the gap, right? Which I think is where we're kind of headed, right? We don't want it to get, their learning gap to get wider because they've had to stay home because of an illness.
Right,
So, but we're working on that with this remote connection.
Okay, thanks. So, and that all makes sense. I know it's not as if everything was rolled out being connected and being able to say this is exactly the thing. So,
Yeah.
but the context helps. Thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair, just to clarify, so if, say I have 4 children at home, if one reports symptoms, do all of them stay home? Or if one gets sent home, do all of them get sent home?
Yes.
Okay, and then if they have COVID-like symptoms, do we wait 2 days for the child to be tested? What's the policy there?
So that we ask you to go through your primary care physician.
Okay, and then
So
based
all
on
of those testing decisions take place with you and your family physician, even though we're saying, we think you should get tested, but you
Yeah.
need to call your primary care physician, and then decisions are made from there.
And then we just expect a note from the PCP saying they're okay to come in?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And so I've also shared another little bit of zip slip data with you, but please excuse the scale on the left-hand side. I'm not sure how that changed, but you will see the colors indicate what we've been facing with some of the zip slip reporting. So back on September 21st, the blue line has just the number of students with symptoms. The orange is the total number of symptoms, right? Because sometimes it's a sore throat, sometimes it's a sore throat, runny nose, and a fever, that kind of thing. And the grayish line is students who reported that they had traveled or had contact with someone who was COVID positive or awaiting results. So if you just look, I mean, just visually, looking back to September, our numbers were quite low. There were very few. And in the last couple of weeks, it's definitely, we've seen an increase in the number of reports of either numerous symptoms or, students with symptoms, and all of that's increasing, which I don't think is surprising, given that the weather's getting colder and all of those things, and just the fact that now kids are seeing one another more, all of that. But I will tell you that this kind of coupled with the table that's below that, we have a really extensive spreadsheet. So any student that gets, let's say somebody in their zip slip said they're staying home because they have a runny nose and a sore throat. Sometime during that day, the nurse is reaching out to that family and saying, so what's the plan, right? We're gonna recommend that you get tested, that you should call your primary care. I don't think we've had any situation that the primary care physician has said, oh, you're fine, it's just a cold, stay home, or it's just allergies. No one's really willing to take that risk that they know that that's what it is. So typically, students are then getting tested. So then once that process kicks in, we're communicating with the Board of Health. They're watching for the results. We're, waiting to see how that plays out. And so the numbers that are down below all reflect scenarios that we've investigated that way, whether a child was sent home with a symptom or they reported a symptom at home. These are all being tracked by our school nurses. So you can see that already this year we're over 200 kind of incidents like this. And some take multiple days, because if the child were to be positive, which we only had, the one at Auburn High School, but then it's who are the close contacts. Now we have to find out who those are, report that to the Board of Health. That causes another kind of ripple in the whole process with now new dates and when can they come back. And we have to be well aware of that. We're very careful about confidentiality of students, but there are staff in a building that have to know to make sure that Joey doesn't come to school on Monday, he can't come to school until Friday, right? Whatever that might be. So it's been a really, it's a lot of tracking and data collection, but our nurses are all about it, and they are on top of it, and they're communicating with one another and with the Board of Health nearly on a daily basis. We had a long meeting yesterday with the Board of Health, like 2.5 hours, just talking through some different scenarios that can come up, and what if this happens, because it's just, I don't know, there's a comfort in kind of already having somewhat of a plan when situations arise, but I think they've done a tremendous job, and we're fortunate that we've not had any big cluster that's impacted us. But, Meg was talking earlier about a district that, they got a group of kids that it can really devastate, because even when you think of, when I've seen what can happen with one student and who were they with, and then who were they with, and who were they with, right? In our case, we didn't have that spread, but very easily it can multiply to so many students, or so many faculty, for whatever it is. But I will say that we've been fortunate that way, and I think the safeguards we have in place, I was just reading something from the Department of Ed about the 6 feet of distance and how important that is, and that really, if you're going by that, you shouldn't have close contacts in school. And so far, we've been fortunate with that, along with very strict mask wearing and the hand hygiene. And I will say that our staff has been tremendous at following through on that. And I know some time back there was concern about the preschool. And I'm going to tell you, they wear their little masks, and you know what? It phases adults more than it phases them. They get used to it as another piece of clothing,
So, through the chair, actually I have one other question. It's just about the staff. Are we seeing that in general, our staff is still healthy, or are we having a lot of call-outs due to illness? Only because we're getting to cold season and...
Yeah, we're not having a lot. We are having some. We had one the other day, and she said, but I can work from home, and we were able to cover the class with some support, so she still ran her class from home. But it was appropriate for her to stay home. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near an issue at this point. Very sporadic.
Okay.
And through the chair too, I just would like to add that, this is a 7-day-a-week proposition that Dr. Chamberlain and myself, I mean, we're.
Thursday nights are bad
Well,
nights.
Thursday nights and then.
I don't know what happens
You
on
know,
Wednesday or Thursday morning,
But
but.
the last, the last several weekends, we're having conversations because something comes to our attention and, we're trying to nip it in the bud. So it's a Saturday, it's a Sunday, it's a Monday, whatever. I mean, it's a 7-day situation and I mean, 200, I mean, this is a lot. This is a lot. And so I think to your earlier point, Dottie, was, in terms of are we sending, kids out and whatnot? Yeah, we're definitely, I mean, we have to use reason, but we're always going to err on the side of right now. We have to be sure, that as sure as we can be, that our kids are safe. That's the bigger piece. And so I know some families, their ire goes up a little bit, when we've had to make those phone calls, but purely it's about their safety and the safety of their children. And the majority of our families have been terrific. But people have to realize that, it's always going to be safety first, and, we're, like I said, we're fortunate, that we've had a couple of cases and we've been able to deal with it, but this is a very extensive kind of process that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I do want to echo Casey's sentiments about family support. The incident that we had at the high school, we made a lot of personal phone calls to make sure that if, anyone whose child was in the same class, the parents were amazing. They were just like, thank you so much. We appreciate all your hard work. No one got upset. No one got mad. No one got scared. They were just very appreciative. And that was comforting to know that they're all in support of this, and we're having a great response rate for Zip Slip. We still have some families we have to follow up with, but overall, for the number of families we have a terrific response rate every single day by families and staff. So far, I think things are paying off.
That's great.
That is great.
And I will say that through the chair, my kindergartner came home with a Slinky from the prize box for washing his hands for 20 seconds. So. A little
Well, that's
upset he
good.
doesn't get a Slinky every time he washes. It's working.
I will say through the chair being at Bryn Mawr, to echo what Beth said, and visiting Bryn Mawr recently, those kids have it down. The masks, they were actually having snack, and when I walked in, and as soon as they saw the door open and me come through, they were like reaching for the mask to throw it on, totally unsolicited from their teacher. And then they had obviously their bathroom breaks and whatever after that, and they all knew. Boom, 6 feet, and they were correcting each other, which was even better. Are you 6 feet? You're not quite on that strip. Get it? And so, they're doing well with it. They're doing well with it. So happy to see that. Under the circumstances, we obviously like to see them not have it at all, but they adapted quick, and they're doing a great job of self-policing themselves, even at 6-7 years old. So.
Yep, that's for sure. And just to let you know, teaching and learning, so, we're beginning to get some plans in. We are actually going to do some, there's a lot of teaching that's happened so far, and we're getting to the point we're going to have to start doing some of the assessments that we normally do, so that'll be coming. Part of what I'm working on now is, last year I had started something called Words from West. We've tried to limit the amount of information we sent out right now because there's just been so much. But I use it's almost like sticky notes, to start to share some best practices in the district, to start to share some resources. There are some good things that DESE has available to folks on, very brief little webinar kind of thing. So in a very gentle, low-key way, I'm going to start sending that information out. It helps the whole district, I think, to stay connected when they hear what's happening at the high school versus Bryn Mawr School, when they don't always get to communicate that way. So that'll be starting as well. And like I said, we'll be starting some Dibbles testing in another few weeks, and some of those things that'll feel a little bit normal, but might be done in a little bit different way. Where some of that may be done remotely, we're working that out now. So a lot of good things happening, and we just have to find the venue to validate that for our teachers and spread the word. So that's the next step to all of that, because there are some great things happening. So that's my report for tonight.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank
report
you.
and for all of your efforts. Much appreciated. And we now move on to the grand finale, business and financial. Celia?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To start off with, Mr. Fahey and I, in collaboration with the leadership team, have formulated the expected needs for the fiscal year 2020-26, it's hard to believe, capital improvement plan as requested by the town. A copy reflecting the building rehab projects along with equipment, furniture, and iPad needs is included in your packet for your review. A vote is required to support the FY 2026 CIP as presented in order that we can send it over to the town to meet the October 15th deadline submission. So if there's any questions that you have, or happy to.
Cecilia, I thought we were doing the purification systems and all this stuff now in the classrooms and things.
We have put in a purchase order for the bipolar air ionization units.
Okay,
So-
oh, that's not this then?
No, what we've tried to do is there's going to be continued need in the buildings to continue to work on upgrading, our air quality. So this is projecting forward that will continue those things.
Okay, so this is over and above what we're doing now?
Right,
Correct.
right. The
Okay.
units have been, the purchase order has been placed and the units are on order, and we're hoping that they'll start coming in or very shortly. I believe they said 10 weeks from the time,
Yeah, and speaking through the chair, and speaking with Mr. Fahey, just today, he said that Halloween or that first week in November is when they'll start coming, so, like I said at our last meeting, when those do come in, it will go into our elementary buildings first, they're the oldest buildings, and then it will be middle and high school, because they're our newest buildings. This rehab unit, these rehabs that are here, are just the existing HVACs that are in the buildings. And so as we've done, I think Mr. Fahey said for the last 15 or so years, we've had an ongoing HVAC maintenance system program, or HVAC maintenance program. That's really what you're seeing here. There are going to be, as we move forward, there will be some expenses around the units we're purchasing now, because the ionization filters themselves have a 2-year shelf life. And so some of that cost is also built into this as well.
Great. All right,
We
thank
try
you.
hard to focus on the air quality as a big ticket item, so it's very important to all of us, so.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 CIP as presented.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Were you going to say something, Cecilia?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's a vote.
Okay, and I've also placed in your packet a year-to-date budget report, as well as a listing of transfers, all dated October 7th to 2020. The transfers are between the same series, and there's some that are between different series that I'll need a vote of approval from you. And I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to the budget, year-to-date budget, or the transfers themselves, if you have any.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfers between series as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
I thank you all, and that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for that report. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chair, that would be it for this evening. Thank you.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye, it is
Aye.
a vote. Good night, everyone.